Have you ever been watching a horror movie and you get to a scene where a character hears a suspicious noise and they decide to go and investigate it, and you're sitting there thinking, that's a dumb idea. Why aren't you more concerned for your safety?
I think we better split up. Let's split up and search for this ape man who eats hamburgers. We'll split up here.
But have you ever considered that there is exactly a certain character that it would make perfect sense for them to go investigate a suspicious noise? If you're thinking maybe a dog, you're right. And dogs are no stranger to horror films, from The Husky in The Thing, to Sam in I Am Legend, to Cujo in Cujo, Precious in Silence of the Lambs, and Barney in Gremlins. Dogs can be heroes, villains, or sometimes, worse yet, the most undeserving victims. But until now, we have never had a horror movie told completely from the point of view of man's best friend. And that is what really got me excited to check out this new film. But is this set up a treasure trove for filmmaking opportunities unlike we've ever seen before? Or is it a gimmick that overstays its welcome? Hi, my name is Emily, or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and this is my review of Good Boy. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for checking out my video. I'm really excited to talk about this movie, not only as a horror movie fan, but as a filmmaker myself. And Good Boy actually comes to us in a time where we've gotten a few different types of interesting point of view horror movies, from Presence, Steven Soderbergh's haunted house story told from the point of view of a ghost, to In a Violent Nature, the 2024 slasher told from the point of view of the killer, both of which I made reviews on, so you can check these out if you want my in-depth review of the films. In my opinion, In a Violent Nature and Presence both come from a place where a hunger for artful curiosity meets innovations in filmmaking, and Good Boy is no different. I was able to see Good Boy as part of a screening at Beyond Fest, the largest well-attended genre film festival in the US, and they had a Q&A following the film with director Ben Leonberg and co-writer Alex Cannon, the husband and wife duo who painstakingly made this film over the course of 400 shooting days. Yes, that's a lot of shooting days. Most of the smaller budget independent films that I've worked on don't shoot for any more than 30 days, because 400 days is a lot of time to be working on a film. So when I heard that, I was thinking, well, clearly Good Boy has a lot of CGI in it, so it must have been all the CGI work because, you know, Indy is a dog and he's limited to what he can do. But I couldn't be more wrong. What if I told you that most of those 400 shooting days, there were only 2 crew members and 1 actor on set? That's because this was the entire crew for most of those shooting days. Cannon, Leonberg, and their dog Indy. And those 400 days weren't consecutive. They shot it over the course of 3 years. And the reason why it took so long to make this movie is because they were a tiny team working with a dog who, 1, infamously cannot work many hours in a day because he's a dog. And 2, and I can say this because his parents said it himself, but Indy is not like a specially trained, very unique dog. He's a very regular dog who is very well trained in basic commands, and everything that we see performed in the movie is done by him. There is no CGI dogs. So like its twisted POV predecessors that came before it, Good Boy is a bold creative exercise, a playground for innovation in filmmaking, and 100% a labor of love for the sake of cinema. So without further ado, let's talk about the film itself. A loyal dog moves to a rural family home with his owner, only to discover supernatural forces lurking in the shadows. As dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must fight to protect the one he loves most. The film is directed by Ben Leonberg, and it stars Shane Jensen, Ariel Friedman, and introducing Indy. Let's start with the performances, and let's start with our titular Good Boy, the star of this film, Indy, a Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever. His performance is so good. This, my friends, is movie magic. I cannot believe that there is absolutely no CGI dogs in this film. Every dog you see is real and or a stunt double doll for the more dangerous stunts, because safety first. But it's still so fascinating to see that Indy can be so emotive and captivating. Again, I cannot stress this enough. He does not know that he's in a movie, but he is so well trained, and that is how his owner and director got this performance out of him. In that Q&A with Leonberg and Cannon, they made it explicitly clear that they never at any point put the dog in harm's way. So there was nothing ever done on set to actually scare Indy. So all the tension, suspicion, and fear that comes across in the film was made explicitly through the cinematography, the direction, sound design, editing, and a lot of empathy that we feel for the character of Indy. It's just a good reminder that the final result performance that we see in a film is the culmination of so many other people's artistic decisions, and nowhere is that most evident than in the film Good Boy. Narratively, the film is so contained, choosing to stick within the limitations of the dog's point of view, like what he finds interesting, what he would be seeing. And I mean that metaphorically, like what he would be interested in, like what would catch his attention, but also quite literally what he would see. So we are down low for most of the film, and I thought those angles were so captivating and so interesting to see things from that point of view. The film film is not explicitly like through the eyes of Indy, so we get to see a lot of the dog and his movements throughout the house and how he navigates the space. And a lot of how they choose to make him move about the space communicates that fear and anxiety. There is very minimal dialogue from the humans throughout this film, so sometimes we will hear the humans like talking in the background or even to Indy, but like he'll lose interest and like walk away, so we don't get the full extent of what's happening. But a lot of those lines are like delivered like exposition getting served to us a little bit here and there, so we can kind of fill in the blanks of what's going on. But the movie is never too concerned with over explaining what exactly is happening, if there is actually supernatural forces at play, or if the dog is going through some existential crisis. I will leave that up to your interpretation. But the way that Indy is presented in this film, it is very evident that he has a concern for the safety of his owner. And it's so fascinating to me that we're able to read that in his performance because, again, he is not talking. It's a brilliant mirror of what makes us scared. The film pulls up the threads of our own fears and insecurities. Like if you're a pet owner and if you've ever wondered to yourself, what does my pet do when I leave the house for a few hours? It's a beautiful exercise in empathy, but it could also be an exercise in patience, especially if you're somebody who really likes a movie that has a lot of plot, a lot of like events and action that keep the momentum going. It might be a challenge to stay invested in this movie, but if you buy into what this movie is selling, which is diving into the psyche of a dog and exploring the themes of grief and loss and fear through an entirely different animal, this movie does that so well. And the cinematography of this film is also just so artfully done. There's some gorgeous nighttime and dark interior scenes. There's so many interesting lighting choices. This movie does a very good job of helping build the world of horror, of suspense, of dread. A lot of that doesn't just fall on Indy and his beautiful eyes and him being a vulnerable creature. The movie does a lot of the heavy lifting of creating that feeling of dread and terror with the cinematography especially. Also doing a lot of that heavy lifting is the sound design in this film, because a lot of what we hear in the movie wasn't actually captured practically on set. It was added in post because, again, they didn't want to put the dog in danger at any point in making this film. And also, artfully so, sound is a big factor when you're making a film through the point of view of a dog, because dogs notoriously have better hearing than humans do. So a lot of these sounds pierce through and they definitely give you a jolt. And it's also a big motivator for a lot of the scares that come out in this film. In addition to the sound design doing a lot of the heavy lifting to create the air of terror and to motivate a lot of the scares in the film, it also does a large part in the performances, because a lot of the speaking roles that we hear, the dialogue that we hear from the actors, wasn't practically captured on set for the most part. Things were recorded in post and added into the movie later. And this was done again to protect the integrity of Indy just being a dog in a movie. And so one big way this comes up is Indy's owner, Todd, is replaced by a body double, and the body double is none other than our director, who is Indy's owner, and he has that relationship with the dog and is able to get the performance that he needs out of him. And that could be part of the reason why some of the line delivery from the human actors feels a little wooden. It feels a little out of place, but you can also interpret that as the dog being, not really interested in listening in. So it also just comes across as an afterthought. But again, it's a practical solution that they made to protect Indy on set. In regards to pacing, I think narratively, we start to feel a little stuck towards the middle half of the film. Indy can't investigate the mystery of what's going on or affecting him and his owner to the same degree that a person would. So naturally, you would feel like the next beat would be in a movie like this, in a haunted house where there's some like strange happenings going on, would be to like uncover the mystery. However, this film feels more motivated by realism than fantasy. So we're limited to what like Indy will actually be doing in any given scenario. There comes a point in the film about a third of the way through where you feel like you get it. Like, okay, I see the tactics. I feel the rhythm. I'm getting accustomed to the beats that this film is taking. And at that point, I felt tension in wanting the story to take a turn, to learn more about the mystery, to pivot us towards something new. But without giving too much away, the film stands 4 paws down in its premise. And I admire how it allows the audience to wrestle with the themes of grief and loss and choose for ourselves how we want to interpret the way death has been presented in the film thus far. But its commitment to the themes and the exploration of the primal fear for a dog that really sells me on this movie. It's the insight of what makes the dog scared. Man's best friend would be afraid of their owner dying or losing their owner. So it makes sense that we are entering Indy's story through this very vulnerable point in his life. And the film firmly sticks the landing for me in exploring that experience of impending grief. It's not too concerned with explaining away the haunting or the why of anything that happens. I personally love the narrative constraint in this context, given that our protagonist is a dog who has limitations in what he's able to understand in the world around him. Or the audience, we have our limitations on what we're able to understand in his experience in all this. And in that way, the film feels really grounded as a film could be while imagining how a dog would feel in this particular situation. And while I like the close quarters of this story, I can understand how the same aspect could be a critique for someone else. But if you hold fast to the world building of the psyche of a dog who is going through a big move with an owner who seems as if he's being chased by dark forces, then I think you will find this story to be thematically rich, fueled by the real life passion and care and love that this couple has for their dog. Overall, I found Good Boy to be a harrowing exploration of grief and death through the eyes of one of the most gifted canine actors of our time. I love this era of different points of views in horror films. I think it's inviting so much creativity and innovation, and I cannot wait to see if Indy gets more jobs because a star is born, and how this film could inspire other filmmakers to take a similar long-winded approach to a project like this. And on the Movie Mija meter, I give Good Boy a 4 out of 5 stars. And there you have it. That is my review of Good Boy. I hope you get to support this small independent film in one way or another, whether that's in the theaters or renting it to watch it at home when it becomes available. And when you do, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching my video and staying through to the end. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel so you can get one new movie review from me every single week. And for even more movie news, reviews, and personal insights, you can follow me on TikTok, Letterboxd, and Instagram at Movie Mija. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!